Right, I am back on the transit. So buried down inside here is an alternator that needs changing. So time to get it into the workshop, get it up on a lift, and let's have the alternator out. Come on, old van. Now, annoyingly, he did this yesterday. The alternator is working fine. I've come to the conclusion that as long as you keep it under 2 grand on the revs, the alternator is functioning, which is sort of okay for short journeys, but is marginally annoying. So I'm still going to change it anyway. Just while we're down here on the floor, you can see the alternator down there. It doesn't look very old, which is marginally worrying. But you could probably do it on the ground, but it's just easy when you've got a lift to get it up. So let's get started. Fix this bloody thing again. Let's get safety out on. We're good. I'm going to have this underneath just as a precautionary because, well, bored. Right, up under there for the alternator. Here we go. Yeah. Is that oily by any chance? Yeah. Bugger. Right, ah, the gift that keeps on giving. Oh, right. For Napa, at least. Right. Well, there's the alternator at least, and a belt that's a bit sketchy, so trying to get the belt off, and then a bit more sealant maybe on that sump. Oh yes, very sketchy belt. Oh, what's that? Is that part of the belt? Is that one of the V's off the belt?
I think so.
Oh, it's good timing then.
I mean, the fact that it's
missing. Yep, yeah, that's not... I did say the belt wasn't long for this world. I was not wrong. Right, well, it looks like we caught that in the nick of time. This is part of this belt. So it's taken an entire groove off the belt. I mean, the belt itself is pretty cracked. But yeah, it has taken an entire groove off. This was wrapped around the back of the power steering pump, which is, you know, nice. I'm amazed that that happened and this stayed put. It shows how good these multi-grooved belts are. So time to replace that. While we're here, we're going to replace the tensioner. So we have this nice fancy new tensioner here. This one wasn't terrible, but while you're in there, might as well. Unfortunately, it feels like the other tensioner, this is just the idler actually, not the tensioner. The idler pulley is a little bit noisy, but we might have to come back and do that. And then here is the new alternator. So we had to get that out of the way anyway to get at the top bolt. The alternator, which is now off. So all we've got to do is get the 2 little 13 mils off, drop that out, and then we'll bob a new belt on and bob the new alternator on and see how it goes. Just like that, right? As you can see by the plethora of tools, it wasn't actually that easy. It's useful when working underneath to also be able to get into the bonnet. So, you know, you should have a really safe stepping mechanism for getting above. So, in typical van style, everything with this thing is an absolute pain in the posterior. For some reason, this thing is held in with all thread. And you think, well, that's all right, you just take the nuts off and then the thread will slide out. Except that's actually a threaded hole. So you take these nuts off and what you're left with is a thread you can't get any purchase on. You then need to rotate and wind all the way out. So you can put two nuts on the end of it, tighten them against each other, and that allows you to pull it out like a long bolt. And that's worked for the lower one, but the upper one, that appears to be using all thread as well, is actually relatively close to the chassis rail. So we're not entirely convinced we're actually going to be able to get it all the way out. Don't really know how this alternator was installed. Nothing is ever simple with a Transit. So just to illustrate the point with the all thread, this was the problem we were having. This touches the chassis rail, which is right here. We did eventually manage to get it out after a little bit of a fight. And then it's just two other connectors. So on the back of here, you've got the live, this is a charge that goes through the starter motor back to the battery. And then somewhere there's a little 3-pin connector. There it is. Little 3-pin connector, and I used my fancy new pliers that pinch the top of this and pull them off, which if you've seen my episode about the toolbox, you'll see I finally made use of these fancy new tools. So right, this is the offending article, hopefully. So new one going in, and then we'll have a little play with this one and see if we can figure out why it's died potentially, because it all looks okay. It doesn't even look very old either, but oh well. Okay, time to reinstall the alternator, and this is kind of what I mentioned. This is where the all thread goes through, and then it goes into the back of the alternator, which has a threaded hole. But you might notice, and you can see this now, and the alternator is out. There's actually a cutaway, so you don't need to pull it all the way out, which would be impossible, as you can see here with the chassis rail. You only need to pull it that far out, which is just enough that it can come out and slot out of the way, which is sort of neat, but it feels like an unnecessary way of doing it. I'm not entirely sure it's supposed to be all thread either. It's probably meant to be a long bolt that somebody's probably cut off in the past because they didn't know you didn't have to take it all the way out. Right, now time to get the new alternator in. What I have been doing while I've been down here, I've cleaned all the terminals for the power cable. It doesn't actually look it on camera, but it is quite clean. And on the starter motor side here, because it just jumps from here to the starter motor and then goes off the battery. And then the other little connector is just tucked out of the way here so it doesn't get dirty. Ah, this is going to be fun. And just like that, the alternator is back in. So pair of 15s on the tensioner up here just to take the tension off. It comes over that tensioner underneath here, around the alternator, over the idler, and then it actually touches this pulley again on the top side before then brushing past another idler there and going up to the power steering, which is a little bit unusual, but it is all on now. So before we turn it over, we're going to see if we can turn over on the crank pulley. It's a diesel, so it might be a little tricky to do, but just to check that it's not going to jump anywhere, because you'll see it was missing a tooth before on the belt, which suggests something might not be perfectly aligned, but we'll soon see. But yeah, got a new idler in here. That's all done. Those are all nicely out of the way of the belt, although only just, but nicely out of the way of the belt. And that's it. And then I've got to do these connectors up here, but that's the last job. Oh, quite a bit of compression there. That all seems okay, doesn't it?
I can hear it creaking at the top edges, isn't it?
That's only way to find out. Right, all connected. Time to put the battery terminal on and check for the escape of any magic smoke. If it doesn't escape, then we're good to go. And then we'll try and give this thing a crank and see whether anything comes off. And see whether the alternator light stays off. The proof will be in the pudding. Take it out for a drive, get it past 2,000 RPM and see whether it works. Right. Let's go. Alright, here goes. So far so good. No alternator light, that's a good start. rotating quite happily. And voila, we've got quite high 14.6, but she's charging. 3 volts. Right, get it out. Slightly, but all right. Look at this fabulous So, Nuff is back, Dr. Nuff is back with the Kia because we now need to go and take the wheels off. So we're going to put it back on the ramps and whip all 4 wheels off and shove them into the van. Mainly because we're going to fit those 4 new tyres we talked about. So brakes are done, it's just been in for a service. Now it's wheels and tyres, but they're going to refurbish the wheels first, then fit the new tyres, bring them back, put them back on the ramps, torque them all up, and then the car's ready to go. It's a bit tight because we're going to obviously have to get the door closed this time, because once it goes up, it's going to be a couple of days before the wheels and tyres come back, so we need to be able to close the doors, which is sort of indicated by the holes here. So we also need to make sure that the front of the car clears the door frame here. So we should be all right at that, but I think we're going to have to push it forward just ever so slightly. Do we think they might have been about ready?
There's loads on the edge.
Yeah, so they're just hit the wear limiters, maybe a little over the wear limiters. But needed to get it serviced and do the brakes and a few of the bits before these came off. So now finally time to get the wheels in the van. Oh, just like that. You might be hear a slight humming in the background because this is a battery for my impact gun. We got all the way around the car with it up in the air until we got to the very last wheel nut and the battery died. I thought, oh, that's fine, just put a breaker bar on it. Nope, wheel spinning, so I had to jump in, put on the brake. Become very reliant on an impact gun. They're an incredible thing. But it charges pretty quick. So, and these are going to be off for a couple of days, so I don't know what I'm worried about. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Next time on Automotive Tales. So, this is a new one on me. Ignition on. Automatic headlights, automatic wipers defective. Nothing happening. It did this morning. Because I had an iced up windscreen. I cleared the windscreen and it was fine. Now I have no wipers at all. So on reflection, I think I know what the problem with the Audi might be.